Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're talking about how right now could be a horrible time to buy a car, or it could actually also be a good time to buy a car. I want to go over the pros and cons of both in today's video. Before we get into the video though, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. And then if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Let's get into it. Let's start things off on the positive side, the reasons why right now could be a good time for you to buy a car. So first off, when it comes to used car wholesale values, they're starting to go down again. And so what this means is if you have a vehicle that you're planning on trading in when you buy a new car, your vehicle is going to be worth less money tomorrow than it is today, because what is now happening in the market is obviously, cars depreciate as time goes on, right? Based on the year and then the mileage. But now when we have a used car market that is just going down overall, you're basically going to be in a situation where you're going to experience bonus depreciation on top of the normal depreciation. So this just means that everything's going to kind of stack up. So let's say just hypothetically, you put 1,000 miles on your car in the next 2 months, and then your car is also 2 months older, and the market continues to do what it's doing. That means that you're going to experience the normal depreciation you'd experience with a car that is 2 months older and has 1,000 more miles. And on top of that, you're going to experience the depreciation in the form of, well, the market's going down. So that's why right now could be a good time to buy a car, because if you trade in now, then your car is going to be worth more, right? And then on top of that, there are some dealers that have product that they're struggling to sell, and so they've got really big discounts on that product from the dealership discount perspective. There are certain vehicles right now that can be had at invoice, and there are a lot of vehicles that can actually be had at well under invoice. Like, dealers are stripping away all of the profit because they just have too much inventory. And on top of that, some of these vehicles that have these huge discounts also have manufacturer incentives on top of the dealer discounts. And so the amount of discount you're getting off of this new vehicle is quite substantial. And so you pair that with the higher trade-in value, and again, right now could be a great time for you to buy that new car. And so now let's go into the situations as to why right now could probably be a horrible time to buy a car. So the first one is if you're looking at a pre-owned car. Again, wholesale values are starting to slip on the used car market, which means that retail values will follow, right? Retail values always take longer to adjust when it comes to declines in the used market. And so what this means for you as a consumer is if you're looking at a used car, well, it's going to be probably the most expensive that we'll see this year right now. Again, if this trend continues where these wholesale values continue to go down. And so that means that if you're patient, then chances are that used car will be a little bit less money tomorrow than it is today. And so that's why right now might not be the best time to buy. And then if you happen to be someone that doesn't have a vehicle you're trading in, so you're just going and buying a car, well, there are some circumstances where right now might not be an ideal time to buy with new cars, because there are certain brands that are still really constrained when it comes to the amount of vehicles they're able to produce, which means that the dealers have no incentive to discount the product and the manufacturers have no incentive to discount the product. But that trend might not be a trend at the end of the year or into next year. And so what this means is if you buy the car today, you might have to pay full MSRP, or in some cases, there's still product going for over MSRP. But if you maybe wait, 3 to 6 to maybe 12 months, then you might be able to get, a discount off of MSRP. Now, I do want to play a little bit of devil's advocate to that point. So the general trend with new cars is over time, the MSRPs increase. And so you also have to understand that you're taking a gamble that, the MSRP increase is going to be smaller than the discount that you'd get in the future. Like, let's just say hypothetically, you're looking at a car that's $30,000, right? That's the MSRP, and that's what the dealer is asking for it. And in a year, right, the MSRP is $31,000, and you're getting $1,000 off MSRP. It's like the money's the same, right? And so, I kind of look at it from that perspective as well. But with that being said, based on the discounts that we've seen so far with the manufacturers that, quote unquote overbuilt, right? They've had inventory buildups. The discounts that they're offering are maybe not necessarily as big as the price increases we've seen over the last couple of years, but they're substantial enough that I would say that these discounts are bigger than the price increases that we will see over the next year or two, because manufacturers understand at this point that they've pretty much hit a ceiling with pricing. Like, they can maybe slowly increase pricing over the next couple of years, but they can't do what they did over the last 2 years because there's already a lot of people that have been pushed out of the market because of that. So point of this whole thing is it might be a good thing for you to wait a little bit if you're looking at certain new vehicles, because although there might not be discounts on that product today, there could be discounts in the future. And then this leads me into what I'm going to call a neutral reason as to what you should do currently. And the reason why I say neutral reason is this could be a reason for you to buy a car now or to wait, and that has to pertain to interest rates. So again, about 85% of people that are going to buy a new car are going to finance it, and with used cars, the data's kind of all over the place, but it looks like it's between 40 and 50% of people that purchase a used vehicle end up financing that vehicle. And so most people that buy a car here in the US are going to finance that vehicle. And so right now could be the time for you to buy a car, because we do have some interest rate hikes that are going to happen throughout the course of the 2023 sales year, which means that taking out a loan on a car is only going to become more expensive as time goes on. But then you could also play devil's advocate to that point and say that, well, things have slowed down in the economy quite substantially, and they might have slowed down enough that the Federal Reserve might start to pull back and start to lower rates. And so if you wait, then you could get a lower rate. Again, I don't know the answer to this, and none of you watching this know the answer to this as well. Only the Federal Reserve knows the answer to this, but I think it's a good point to make. Like, it's one of those things, again, where you're just going to have to chance it, where it's like, okay, maybe I just go in and lock a rate in today, because for the next 2-3 years interest rates are going to be as high as they are, as high as they are today, or potentially higher. Or maybe I wait it out and maybe the rates start to go down. If you guys want to know my personal opinion, not expert opinion, just personal opinion, I think that we're probably going to have these elevated rates for quite some time. Like, I imagine at least a year, if not 2 years, potentially even longer. So in summary, is right now a good time to buy a car? Well, it just depends on your situation, and this is a story that is old as time, because you always have people that'll say that, like, this is the time to buy a car. It's like they're trying to time the car market like some people try to time the stock market. And the reality is there's never truly an ideal time to buy a car. There's always pros and cons to buying a car at any time. Like, there were a lot of people that would say, hey, if you bought a car in, like, let's say November of 2021, when prices on used cars peaked, then you're a complete idiot and that was a horrible purchase. But it's like, well, if you traded in a car in November of 2021 for another car, then you actually could have gotten a pretty good deal, because let's say that you trade in your used car and you got top dollar for your car, and you bought a brand new car and didn't pay any markup on that car. Well, then you could have put yourself in a situation where you got the most amount of money for your car and you paid, market value for the car that you, bought. And, chances are, again, back then with everything going over MSRP, you actually paid below market value. And so you could have been in a much better position than had you just kept your car and waited at a later date. So the point that I'm trying to make here is, as you're looking to shop for a car, don't just go off of, what everyone's saying about the market, right, to determine if you're going to buy a car or not. You need to look at your specific situation and determine if this market makes sense for your specific situation. So like I said earlier in the video, if you happen to be trading in a car for a brand new car, well, right now, I'm not saying it's the best time ever to buy a car, but it actually could be a pretty good time to buy a car, because again, you're going to get a big discount on the vehicle. And on top of that, there are more manufacturers that are offering subvented rates, so you don't have to pay the crazy high interest rates that, banks and everything are giving out. Some of these, again, these manufacturers will give you a much lower interest rate. And then on top of that, used car values, right? They did a little bit of a run up this year. And so now you're going to get a little bit more money for your car today than what you would have gotten for it, let's say November, December last year. So with that being said, hopefully this video helps all of you out, and I'll see you.